Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk, think, show, tank that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One, and today we're gonna take a week's look at what people who are looking at African American, they're asking questions. They're seeing the world change in front of their eyes, as one person wrote, as you'll see soon. And what are we supposed to be doing at this time? Then I want to share with you some of the people in the group, what some of the people in the group are saying. We have over 35,000 members in the group. And sometimes some of them have questions as how they're seeing the world. They project it back to the group. And the groups get a basic understanding on what the group is seeing. Tar Pete, how you doing? And welcome to all the people who are joining us this afternoon. But before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know on the weekend of the 3rd and 4th, the No Grandma Killers Tour is coming to Atlanta. The No Grandma Killer Tour is coming to Atlanta, so you know what that means. Plan to spend the weekend with your peeps. These people are coming from all over the country to hang out in the South, because these are people who look into their heritage and realize that they're not the things other people call them. They're not black. They're not black. They're not Africans. They're not Negroes. They're not Aboriginals. So when you look for yourself, you start to find what your people call themselves. And nobody's not going to tell you that but you. So the No Grandma Killers Tour, find them online, hit me up at African Americans Ain't Africans, and I'll give you the details, because I just don't have the details in front of me now. But the No Grandma's Killer Tour is coming up, y'all. It's going to be a stone gas. So what I want to do now, I want to share with you some of the emails I've been getting, what people have been saying. And this is what I'm saying. We got some intelligent folks, you know. The other vast majority, really, it's like with this whole pandemic thing, we go overboard with stuff and we don't plan for ourselves, which means other people can plan for us. Hint, hint. See, we don't tell ourselves, we don't make policy for ourselves. We don't put out what should be done with our children. We don't put out how our children should be educated. We leave that to somebody else. And it's not even talked about no more, because we've been playing stupid for so long. It's embarrassing. A bumblebee doesn't tell a worm what to do. You are here for a reason. You came through America. America birthed you. I'm talking to the people who call themselves African American, Black, Negro, colored. All these terms and names people give you is so they control you. It's 2020 and the majority of haven't figured that out yet. So when you're going around being a Greek, a Christian, a Muslim, a Hebrew, Israelite, Egyptian, whatever you want to call yourself, while you're going around pretending to be that, who's being you? These are questions we have to start asking if we're going to become a worthy people of being on this planet. Because the world is over here on top of your head now, and they not playing with you. So let's go to the mailbag. And This is from CB. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but they asked a pretty cool question. Say, good afternoon. I have a question that has been gnawing at me as I watch my mother age not so gracefully. As we watch the world change in front of our eyes, how do you think we should be planning for the care of our elders? That's a good question on several fronts. Why? Because people can't trust the hospitals no more. It's becoming too expensive. The only way I see where it would be beneficial for us, and I think we have to start looking at things that'll be beneficial for us and not worry that somebody get paid because they're giving you something. That doesn't work. So what I would suggest simply, and this is something simply everybody can do. Everybody has a nurse in the family, or it should have one. A nurse, it doesn't matter what degree, it's degrees in that stuff. But everybody should have a nurse. Hire that nurse to take care of the elders in the family. And if they're separated, get them all back home to where they started. We have to start looking at this thing financially, how it'll work. When you add up what we paying to stay in these rest homes, you'll be pissed. To give your parent, your mother over to somebody to watch after them, that's going to Black to African American. That's one of the programs that we fell into. Because we just too busy building somebody else's empire. Because everybody who has a job, and I'm not saying this is everybody because it's not everybody, but well over 90% of us work at building somebody's empire on your land, right or wrong. See, these are things we don't want to talk about. Why do you say that? These are the things we participate in, and we do it. We're arrogant when we do it too. So now, that's something we're going to have to look at. And that's my 2 cents in. Get somebody who's in the family that's a nurse to take care of the family. You can hire nurses, from who have more experience or whatever. You even might have that in your family. But start taking care of our folks ourselves. I mean, what other way? Huh? So if a goat is sick, it takes his baby to the lion doctor to get well. That's how the African American thinks. And look at you crazy if you don't think that way. So like they said, the world is changing in front of our eyes. How are we going to deal with that? We're going to have to make some drastic changes. And many of us won't be able to do it. I've seen it. I've seen a person who know they wrong. You done shut down all the traps. They know they wrong, and they just can't do it right. It just can't be right. And so it brings up an instance where the sister said on the slave plantation how it went down. These sisters were sexing brothers to make babies to sell, human trafficking. They do it now. You're familiar with it. And they would get the meanest, brutish cat to go in and rape these sisters. That still runs through what we're doing now. See, a lot of times, what we like to do is blame other people so we don't have to confront it. And it keeps building up, and we don't understand it. I mean, we grow old and don't understand it. You have to confront the things that you did. At least recognize them so they won't keep popping up. We won't even look at them. We won't even be honest with ourselves. What do? Just throw a bag of emotions on it and run. Had a sister call me up today, and this is what I'm saying, y'all. This is how I know this stuff is real. Distraught. Talking to her this time last year, her and her husband was going on a cruise, yada yada yada. You know, going to church every Sunday. Husband dies, and now the wolves are surrounding her. So she calls me and says, what should she do? And I just asked her simply because every time we talk, this is how she talks to me. I asked her, what did Jesus say? Immediately, she got mad. I'm telling you, this is where we are now. So I'm saying this change, if the world is changing in front of our eyes, if we can't change our minds, if we can't change our perceptions, if we can't start looking at reality, many of us ain't gonna make it. So I asked her, what did Jesus say? And she got hot. And I'm like, well, what's the problem? Why you bring that up? And I'm like, I'm just saying, because every and when I say every time, she the kind of sister that get on the phone, praise Jesus. Jesus, 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 Jesus. You know the type. And I made it clear to her several times, you can stop saying that with me because I'm not really into that. So when I asked her what Jesus say about it, she got hot. I asked her why. Why you getting mad? I'm trying to speak your language. I mean, what Jesus do that now that he always does? He's never around. He never shows up. Just when you speak it. And now when you need him, he's nowhere around. But you will cuss me out. The person in the email was right. The world is changing rapidly, and we better have our fingerprints on this world change. And that's what's going on at this No Grandma Killers tour. You can find your genealogy. You can at least know where to start, where your people live, where they grew up, where they piss in the ground, where did they grow the herbs to make them better, to make you better, what foods to eat. You should be eating rabbit now, but you eating that synthetic meat at Taco Bell, for real, cuz? Yeah. We don't even know how to feed ourselves. That's where we gone. And we cool with it. So at this Grandma Killers tour, you're gonna meet people who do that. Meet farmers. You're America's farmers. You're America's first farmers, and you don't support the brothers who grow food. We're not growing food. That should be every single last one of us's job, is to grow food. You grow, if you live in an apartment in the projects, you can get you a bucket and grow something. And that's, I'm throwing a gauntlet down for everybody. Pick what you like. There's all kind of fruits. There's all kind of vegetables. There are all kind of herbs you can grow that can sustain you if needed. Sister taught me a long time to grow microgreens indoors, and they grow fast. I did it, but it takes some getting used to. It takes some getting used to. So that's so, as our elder people age, we have people in the family that are nurses, who went to these little schools on how to nurse, and they can be hired because you know they're going to be the first one fired. Hire your nieces, hire your nephews, somebody in the family who's responsible, who have some love for our elderly people, and have them watch out over them. Like I say, you can have the nurse, that nurse, or to the Black Nurses Association. How come you guys don't have something that we can take care of our people? These are the so-called educated people. Why don't the Black Nurses Association have something all over the country to look in on our elderly people? You don't see how that'll help us? I mean, this is simple stuff that we can be doing, but we think we got to go shine for somebody else and build somebody else's empire. You're going to regret that one day. This email is from E. I'm noticing in my hometown that most of the Negroes are following orders to the T. And at work, they are playing mass detective. Are there any instances where this went on in history and what we did to work around it? Yeah, it happened several times. So you have to. So this is what when you have Negroes in that position, always trying to be so and so. This happens all the time. Remember, Buffalo Soldiers. Who were the Buffalo Soldiers? See, whenever you do genealogy, you will look back and you might find your great 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 grandfather with a rifle in the army or something. The army here first attacked their brothers in the plains. That's who the Buffalo Soldiers were. They killed off the food supply and they helped the army kill off the brothers in the Midwest. Remember, the Midwest used to be a forest. These are things we have to know. These are things we have to know. The terrain of this country has changed so much since your grandfather was here. You think I'm lying? Ask the people in Charlotte, North Carolina. They'll tell you that they done cut down most of the forest around the city. Anytime a tree dies, one of us will die. See, we nature. We have been totally disconnected from nature. Everybody tells you that you're a receiver, you're an antenna. Everybody tells you that you transmit and receive, not just on the physical level, on the spiritual level. That's you. We don't even want to know. We don't care. We don't give a fuck. This planet around that you were born in, and this biosphere that you were born into, one of the reasons you were born into it is to fix it, because somewhere along the line you helped mess it up and you're getting another go round at it. This is why you follow your own spiritual practices. This is why you know what the layout of the land. And so you have people living on your land, living on rivers and lakes, and got you huddled into a town and some projects. But we won't work together to come up. We hate each other. We hate truth. We hate looking at the mistakes we make and simply changing. We don't even want to do that. And arrogant about it. You think you can tip the scales to somebody else's favor and it's going to help you out? This is not everybody. This is not the listeners. I'm not saying you, but the majority. And the majority is 50.1%. Act like they don't even see what's going on. So keep your eyes open. Be cognizant, be loud. Make sure your voice is heard. Just don't sit down and shut up and don't say nothing like you normally do. Because we're in a part of history that this is going to be on the books, staying on the books for a long time. Here's our last email. And funny, I got all these emails in a week. And this is from a lady named Cheryl. Hello, Mr. Davis. I really enjoy your programs. You remind me of my dad. He would say the most simplistic thing to alter your course in life. I went back as far as I could, and his side of the family is from Iowa. Didn't know Black people lived in Iowa. Anyway, my question is, the census really is frustrating. Is there another way this could be accomplished? The census is not really my strong point, but I will say if you come to the No Grandma Killers tour, there will be people, because I see it all online, people finding their fathers. We have a lady named Davita Carter. She be going back like to the 1800s, and doing a nice job of tracking her family. But is there another way this could be accomplished? Yes. Start your census yourself. And don't start it with you. Cheryl, I don't know how old you are. Start with your sons or your grandchildren. That's 1 and 2 generations. You see, just don't start with you and count back 1 generation, 2 generation, 3 generation. No. You got generations in front of you. Count your kids and grandkids and get them into it too. Because once they start knowing what America is and why all these foreigners rushing over here to get it, they'll look at themselves in a totally different way. See, the mistake went on is when these foreigners came over and they were given cities to set up. No, don't think they just came over here taking stuff. It didn't go down like that. They got your help, Black man. And see, that's something brothers don't want to talk about. And if the sisters bring it up, they'll slap the shit out of them. For real. See, brothers don't, see, the ministers don't want to tell you their role in this. And that ain't even no homework. And see, these are the people that we support and love and worship and buy airplanes for and buy new shoes for. So all this falls on us. The only way we're going to get out of this if we get ourselves out. And you'll have some people, well, what are we in? That lets you know how bad the problem is. Just like the sister that called me. And I told her, well, hey, where's Jesus at now? Because if I tell you what should be done, you'll be upset. So your Lord and Savior must have had to tell you something, what to do. And I don't want to go against that. So you see what's going on now. They're trying to ramp up this second wave and trying to make sure everybody gets, what do they call that when you get shots? When they give you shots, vaccinated. So they're going to try to roll that one, y'all. Come on. Got to stand up in unison. Stop hating on one another. Stop clowning. In order for them to do what they do, you have to have the population totally confused. A lot of the news stories coming up are false. Is to get a rise out of you. Pay attention. You have animals that are around you, not these little dogs and stuff. There's animals. There's plant life. There's other life forms on this planet that you should be connected to that will give you an insight on what's going on. I mean, you used to communicate with them. You used to treat them like your brothers, but you've been pulled from that. So those of you who stay away from that, who not into that, keep going with the poodles. Keep going with the poodles. Those of you who want to maintain your presence on this planet like every other species, because they always compare brothers to species. Find out who your folks are. Find out where they live, what part of the country they lived in, what they did, if they lived by a lake, if they lived up in the mountains, if they lived by the ocean. What did they do? What did they take for medicine? How did they live so long? From your great, 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 great grandparents, your life expectancy have been cut by at least 50 years. At the top and at the bottom, you abort so many babies. That's how you're culled. They call that culling. See, your life expectancy, I've read stories where Negroes living here was living to be 200 years old. And I know many of you have heard the stories of people living to be 150, 160 years old. I know many of you heard those stories. Why the life expectancy get chopped down so much? Because your environment was killed off. When your environment is killed, the average African American don't give a shit about a tree, right or wrong. The average African American is scared of the animals that are out in the wild. So these people have been totally disconnected from nature. And you guys got to have this in mind as we go forward. Nature creates everything. I mean, and we don't even know that, and don't care. I'll tell you, I had cat. Listen, I go to certain schools, colleges, family reunions, and such, and talk to a lot of people. And seriously, ugh. I mean, and arrogant about it. So this is why you're seeing all this stuff befall us. I was talking to a brother today, and he was saying how many people have been laid off because I haven't been paying attention. He said, man, the layoffs have been massive. I'm like, oh, you've seen nothing yet. You've seen nothing yet. I mean, since I've been on the planet, I'll go back to the first of the 1900s. They have a college down in Tuskegee, Alabama, called Tuskegee University. And when you go to the college, it's a really cool laid out college. It's not the colleges of Alabama or some of these other major colleges. It's one of those historically Black colleges and university. And I think it was funded by the Carnegies or Rockefeller, I'm not sure. But the school was built by the students. The school was built by the students. How come we haven't followed that model? Or how come we haven't copied that? I mean, that's a legitimate question to ask. And we just been doing all this clowning. So the day of reckoning is among us. What we gonna do? Or what are you gonna do? Are we gonna just go another 100 years living under this whatever this is called, because it's not a civilization. It's horrible. Or are we just going to finally stand up, claim our stake in the world, in the universe, and be what the universe has deemed us to be? Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you this weekend. We got Spaceman coming up. And if you know somebody who's invented something or founded something, and if you've seen this cat's videos, I mean, I've seen it and I still can't believe it. This cat turned his daughter's go-kart into a helicopter. Well, he calls it a flying machine. I don't know what to call it. I can just say helicopter because that's what it looks like to me. There's things that we can do. There's things that we are about. And we're on this emotional, just always getting mad, can't be honest, lie all the time, bullshit. If we're going to be that way, remember, you're a receiver and you're an antenna. And if you're putting that stuff out, that's what's going to bounce back to you. It's just that simple. What goes around comes around. You wake up every day and you see this phenomena happen every day. You can't say you don't know. Find your family, find your place in the world, and be the star you're supposed to be. We'll see you next time. Peace.